Hey everybody, welcome to Being Kambua Season 3. I cannot believe we're actually in Season 3. It's amazing. And I'm so grateful to all of you who've been a part of this journey. And those of you who are newcomers, Karibu Sana, make this your home and make sure you tell somebody else about Being Kambua. This is a space where we are unafraid of talking about issues that we encounter on our journey to motherhood, things that we do not foresee. You know, we get to talk about miscarriages and different kinds of loss, infant loss. We talk about struggles of infertility, whether it's PCOS, unexplained infertility, whatever that looks like. We talk about different ways that God blesses us and causes us to be mothers. We talk about surrogacy, adoption, and just a myriad of other ways that God blesses us into the journey of motherhood. So Karibu Sana, make this your home. Be very, very comfortable. A couple of, I think 2 weeks ago, I asked you guys to tell me what you want to hear in Season 3, what conversations you would like us to cover here on Being Kambua. And I want to sample some of the comments that came in. Deno said, I hope we'll get to see men on the podcast to hear their experiences and their perspective. So absolutely, I have great plans for the men. Hold it right there. Angie said, GBV in marriage. All right. Christine says, eagerly waiting for Season 3. June, healing from brokenness, narcissistic partners, and dealing with childhood trauma. Jacqueline, stories on trusting God's timing, and a lot of the stories really are about that, trusting God's timing. Wamboi, navigating grief, trusting God through the seasons. Guanta Frida, people who've lost a part or some parts of their reproductive organs unexpectedly, especially women. The stigma is still on, absolutely. And then let me see. Someone is saying that they're waiting on Rebecca Dawn to come. Rebecca is, hopefully it's going to happen on Season 3. We have been having conversations. Thriving in the fourth trimester is what Mumbi is saying. And in case you're wondering what the fourth trimester is, it's that after you've had a baby, that period over there, right after have that postpartum period, is what is often referred to as the fourth trimester. Many comments. Mother wounds from toxic moms, that's a big one as well. Stories on adoption. If you can go to Season 2, the last story that we did, I think, or the second last, there's a lady there who shared her beautiful story on adoption. You should check that out as actually. And then one more here, Faith is saying a couple that has not managed to have children, how they support each other, their families, and their friends' view, how to navigate childlessness. So yeah, a lot of suggestions that have come in. And this is also what I want to say. If you have a story you feel that you'd like to share, or you have somebody that you love who you feels ready to share, because I understand that these stories are not easy stories to share. And many times you may feel like, I want to share, but I'm not ready. That's okay. Or you may never want to share your story publicly as well. That is also perfectly okay. I say that here on Being Kambua, we will speak for you. Okay. But if you really want to share a story, maybe on some of these topics, go ahead and drop me a DM at Being Kambua on Instagram, or beingkambua@gmail.com. All right. So we want to get right into it, and I'm so honored to have this guest here with me today. We've been trying to make this happen since the last season, but I'm so grateful because God's timing is always the best with everything. So today I get to have Jane Gichohi here. Hi, Jane.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
I'm so happy to be here.
And you look lovely.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm happy to connect with you because, you know, when Jane walked into our studios, I was like, wait, I know Jane. I know you. And it's not one of those, you have a familiar face kind of thing. It wasn't. I was like, no, I really know you.
Yeah.
So when I searched the files, it led me to that you are married to someone who is well known to my husband.
Yes.
And Pastor Nelson.
Yes.
We had we did a bit of premarital counseling with Pastor Nelson.
Yes.
And then of course I learned from you that there was an even bigger connection.
Yes, we've known your husband.
Yes.
For very many years.
Yes.
You know, and we were very excited.
Yeah.
And my husband told me all about the time that you met.
Yes.
I'd actually had surgery, so I couldn't get
I'm so
involved, but I'm
sorry.
so excited.
Yes, that we get to have this conversation.
Yes.
Jane, I want to just get to know a little bit about you. Are you born and raised in Nairobi?
No,
Tell
I'm
us.
actually from Nakuru.
Oh, you're
Born and raised
Nakuru
in
girl.
Nakuru. And I came to Nairobi in
Yes.
1985 to join Joy Bringer's family, Youth for Christ. So I actually used to walk down this road to go
Yes.
to the Youth for Christ offices.
Their offices were right.
Yes.
Was it the same road? Yes, really close.
And I remember, we were among the first ones to launch Sing and Shine.
So you sing, Jane?
Yes, I do.
I didn't know that about you.
In the 80s.
Is that you saying I don't sing anymore?
I do sing. I sing for the Lord.
It's like before you put me on the spot, Kambua, that was in the 80s.
Yes, don't ask me to sing here right now. Yes, I still sing.
Yeah.
I still raise a joyful noise to the Lord.
Amen.
Yeah.
I mean, Joy Bringers, Youth for Christ. Those were big.
Challenge. I also sang the challenge.
Wow,
yeah,
that's fantastic.
Yes.
In a quick side story, I did audition for Youth for Christ G21 some years back. But I was, first of all, I am naturally introverted, but I was also extremely, extremely shy. And I went for the audition, and the gentleman, I keep forgetting his name, I think it was Don something, who at that time was running Youth for Christ. And I found him, I just thought he was very, very intimidating. So I auditioned. I walked into the audition room, and when I was told to sing, I just couldn't. I froze. And he's like, okay, do you want to turn around and face the wall and sing? I'm like, yes. He's like, okay, turn around. So
which year was this?
I think it was maybe around 2002 or 1. I'm not sure, thereabouts. It was right after high school. So I auditioned to the wall. I sang to the wall. I passed the audition. And then they called us for a second round of audition because we were trying to take a team to the US.
Yes.
And I was like, I can't go through that again. So that's where my dream.
Are you serious? You didn't go back?
I did not go back. I remember telling my youth pastor.
And you sing so well.
I told my youth pastor, I was so terrified. I don't think he said, Kambua, it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yes.
So you just took me back to that. Let's get back to So you're born and raised in Nakuru.
Born and raised in Nakuru. Then I came to Nairobi. Actually I was 18.
Yes.
And joined Youth for Christ. And then shortly after that, I was supposed to go to the University of Nairobi.
Okay.
But I had this big dream and desire in my heart to be a missionary. So I talked to my mom and persuaded her to let me go to India instead.
Wow.
Yes.
For missions.
For college. But in my heart, it's like I'm going to be a missionary.
Wow.
In India. So I was there for a year and a half and it wasn't exactly what I thought it was.
Okay.
And I was like, I want to go back home.
What was so different from what you had hoped for and what you experienced?
I went to India and the day-to-day life, in those days, they limited the amount of money you could take out. So that was my first challenge.
Yeah.
A very strict budget to live on.
Yes.
And then the church and the fellowship that I was a part of was extremely conservative.
Okay.
So adjusting to that, adjusting to different expectations, I was so totally out of my comfort zone. And I found other believers there. And they fleshed out their walk with the Lord really differently from me.
Right.
They were wonderful people. It's just that we had such different cultural backgrounds in so many ways. My older sister was there, so she really helped to bridge that gap. But when she left, I was like, I really want to go back. In Nairobi University, then we used to get boom.
Okay, what is boom?
Boom is an allowance.
Oh.
So for me, the allowance that I was having in India was like very limiting. You know how you're thinking, back home, I'll get money. Back home, I'll have family around me.
Yes.
And my mom was also very unwell. So I was also it's like I was constantly worried that my mom would pass away or something would happen and I wasn't there, the second last born in my family. So, and I also knew that I had admissions to the University of Nairobi.
Okay.
So I came back home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I think that's so important that you actually say, because sometimes people think, I've left, I've gone abroad, I have to make it work. And you end up you could be so miserable out there because you just don't want to make the decision to go back home. What will people say, and that kind of thing. So it takes a lot of courage to make that move back. Okay, so you're back in Kenya. You now get to Nairobi University?
Yes.
Okay. What were you studying?
I did a BA in sociology and literature.
Yes.
I loved what I did.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, and I was very involved in my church as well.
Okay.
I was in Nairobi Pentecostal Church, then now it's Sitam.
Yes.
And I loved my life. I was also very involved with life ministry.
Yeah.
And I was very involved also with the Christian Union. So I was busy.
Yeah. And is it in this busyness of serving the Lord, is this where you met Pastor Nelson?
No, we actually met in India.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Tell
we
us
met
about
in
that.
India. He says that I came to India to meet him. But I remember when I got to India, my older sister was born again, and she immediately told me, before we go home, I'm taking you for a fellowship.
Okay.
And we went for this fellowship, and I had to go up. It's like the ladies were seated somewhere up, and then you had to lie on your stomach because there was a fan above our heads.
Okay.
So I remember lying down, and I'm excited. I'm in India. I'm away from home. And I'm, it's like, wow.
Yes.
I can't wait to sample this life and this country. And then at the corner, there was this handsome guy. I mean, he was so cute. I was just staring at him. I'm glad you were up and people couldn't see me staring at him.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the message.
The message was the handsome young man.
I just remember this guy, he was so cute. He was, and I was thinking, this guy is a Somali. He looked like a Somali to me.
Yeah.
He'd actually curled his hair.
Okay.
So after the fellowship, I went down and I was like waiting to meet him.
Okay.
They asked me to give a testimony because I'd, recently come from Kenya. They wanted to hear from me.
Yeah.
And it was a mixed community, Asians, Indians, and, Africans.
Okay.
There were Kenyans, there were Ugandans, Zimbabweans. And I went there and I was standing next to him giving my testimony.
Yeah.
And afterwards, I thought, we'd get to talk, but he was such a serious person.
Okay.
That when the fellowship ended, he was there talking to the leader. He was called Brother Rocky Pereira. And I'm thinking, he's when will I get to talk to him?
Yes.
Anyway, we did actually get to meet and talk and get to know each other.
Yeah.
And he tells me from the moment he saw me, he knew
that you were the one?
That I was the one.
Oh my goodness.
And I felt the same way.
Wow.
This is the person I want to spend the rest of my life with.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you've met this person that you want to spend the rest of your life with, but then you pack your bags and you go back to Kenya.
Yes.
You leave him in India.
Yes. My mom actually I came home for the holidays. And the thing that I feared the most, my mom was really, really unwell.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to go back to India. I don't want to, there was all the challenges I'd had in India. And it wasn't all negative.
Okay.
But it wasn't the time for me to be there.
Yeah.
And my mom was like, just come back and reapply to go back to the University of Nairobi. She also wanted me home.
Okay.
So I went back to India and to say bye to everybody and specifically Nelson.
Yeah.
And just before I left, he was like, I want to tell you something, and I've been praying and fasting about this. Of course, I knew what it was.
Yes.
And so we agreed to meet.
Yes.
And when we met to share our hearts, both of us were so, I don't know whether to say shy, but it was like, can you write what is in your heart? And you write what is in your heart, then we exchange the papers. It's like, I don't want to take the risk.
How cute.
I was, I think, 21 or 22. He was probably 23, 24.
Okay.
So we did, and it was the same thing. I love you. I'd like to spend the rest of my life with you.
Yeah.
So we formalized our attraction.
Yes.
Because it wasn't really an engagement. It's like admitting, yes, I really like you.
Yeah.
And then I came back home.
Okay.
And left him in India because he'd applied to do his master's. So I came here and started all over again.
Okay.
Then when I was in my third year, he came back. In between, we broke up.
Okay.
But we reconnected in my third year.
Yes.
And he came back. And yes, the rest is history.
Oh, my
We've
goodness.
been married for 33 years. So we knew
33
each other
years.
for about 7 years before we got married. So we
Yes.
say it's about 40 years.
Yes, a long time. Wow, that's such a beautiful story. I hope people are taking a note, okay? They exchanged notes.
Imagine.
Shared their intentions.
Imagine.
That is so precious. So you and Pastor Nelson get married.
Yes.
Did you, were there plans to have children?
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, I knew I had a problem. I had PCOS.
You did.
And our pastors counseled us, did premarital counseling with us, and they said it's important for both of you to see doctors.
Okay.
And to get your medical history.
Yes.
And when it says, is there any impediment,
Yes.
so it's like be very open and share everything. So I did tell Nelson. I got my results that said I did have PCOS and it was going to be a challenge for me to conceive. And I knew there would be challenges because I had a very regular period.
Yeah.
And of course, you have hormonal imbalance and all that. So he knew. And he was like, God is the one who gives children.
Okay.
So this is not a problem for me. So we got married knowing that I had a medical problem, medical situation.
Yes.
And but both of us were so full of faith. We knew.
Yeah.
At the time that we were ready to have children, we'd pray.
Yes.
And we'd have the children.
Could happen, yeah.
Within our timelines. Yes, we knew 2 years, family planning.
Yes.
And after that, children.
Yeah.
But my doctor told me, you should not go on any family planning medication because it will make it worse.
Yeah.
And we talked, Nelson and I, and he said, we didn't want a honeymoon baby.
Right.
So we decided we would take his counsel, but not his full counsel.
Okay.
And I did go on medication for about 3 months.
Okay.
And then stopped.
Yes.
And prayed. We said, Lord, I'm stopping, but we really don't want to have children until after about 6 months to a year. Now it kind of changed from 2 years to 6 months to a year. And then we waited.
Yeah.
And then we waited. So the first year,
yeah,
it's like, well, it's still within our timeline, so no problem. The second year, I'm starting to get a little concerned.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was volunteering at the Crisis Pregnancy Center.
Okay.
So I was counseling ladies, who would come with their crisis pregnancy. And they had lots of books in the library. So I started reading about infertility.
Okay.
And the more I read about infertility, the more I got concerned and worried because I started seeing patterns in my life.
Yeah.
And realizing, I actually might have a real problem.
Right.
This might not go away in a month. It might not go away in a year or 2 years. Then I'd encourage myself. No. God is going to bless us. We are serving him.
Yeah.
Because he was serving in Nairobi Lighthouse Church at that point. I had moved from my church to, of course, Nairobi Lighthouse. Yes. So I was sure, God, you can't say no to us. No. I mean, we are serving you. Yeah. We love you.
Yeah.
And then after some time, we talked and we agreed, let's go back and see what's the problem. Let's do further tests.
Okay. This is now a year in.
No. About 2.5.
About 2.5. Okay.
2.5 years in.
Yeah.
Because remember the first 1 year, we weren't really worried.
Yeah.
The second year, by the time second year going into the third year, we're like, let's find out, if there is anything else, and so we started the treatment.
Right.
It was hard, going on the fertility treatment. A lot of it would mess with my hormones, my cycle. And slowly I started becoming this person who wasn't the person I was. I don't know how to put it. I was getting depressed, getting discouraged, getting weighed down because we'd go to a doctor and you're told, oh, don't worry. When we put you on this treatment, it will take about 3 months at the most.
Yes.
And you will have conceived. I don't know whether you ever went through that.
Oh, yeah.
So we'd be excited.
Yeah.
We'd start month 1, month 2, month 3.
Yeah.
And I remember one doctor saying, I can't keep you on this treatment for another month. It's not healthy. It's not good. So we'd stop that treatment.
Yeah.
And then we put on a different treatment. I remember Clomid.
Yeah.
Taking Clomid and they increased the dosage, and nothing.
Oh my goodness.
So after some time of being on different treatments, about a year, maybe two, my
Yes.
husband just said, I feel like I'm losing you,
Wow.
the person.
Yeah.
And you mean more to me than children.
Wow.
And I want us to stop all this
Wow.
treatment.
Yeah.
And we stopped. And by that time, I had really, really changed. You know, I was questioning. I was questioning God, why?
Yes.
I got saved when I was 11.
Yes.
And I was like, I have served you. I have done the best I know to do to be
Yes.
faithful to you. And it's like, is this what I get in return? You know, I'd worked at a crisis pregnancy center.
Yeah.
And it felt unfair.
Yeah.
I'm counseling ladies who don't want children. I want children and you won't give me children.
Yes. Yes.
It's like, God, why? What have I done?
Yeah.
So there was a lot of looking inside, looking inward. Where did I go wrong? Where am I going wrong? My husband loves children.
Yeah. And I
It
can't
was
give him children.
difficult. It was difficult because to this day,
Yes.
he's like a Pied Piper. Kids run after him. You know, and even in the estate where we were staying, the
Yeah.
kids, he'd come home and the kids would run. And he loved doing Bible study, Bible games and playing with them. That hurt.
Yeah.
You know, I was happy that he loved children, but I'd feel the weight and loss even more.
Yeah, that
I
you can't give him the one
him
thing he
children.
really... Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The only thing, I remember once he asked the kids, you know, what do you call me? And they told him Baba Doggy, because at that time, the only thing we had was a little dog. So whenever he got home, it's the little dog that would run. It's funny and sad. It was the little dog that would run to meet him. There were no children.
Kids
so
are
for them,
so innocent, Baba
it was
Doggy.
Baba Doggy. You
I'm
know?
sorry that we're laughing about this.
No, now we can laugh.
yes.
But even for him, it was like, what?
Wow.
This is who I am to the children. I'm Baba Doggy. Yeah, so those were hard years to the place where I know I got to a place where I didn't even want to get out of the house. Because, you know, my siblings, they were getting their children, his siblings.
Yeah.
You go for meetings, people are talking about their babies, your friends.
You have
Everybody's
nothing
that
to say.
baby boom moment, and you have nothing to say.
Yeah.
They're talking about diaper rash and whatever. Or somebody comes, your house is so tidy. I'm like, I don't want it. You can relate. I don't want it to be tidy.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you're so lucky everything is in place.
Yes, I want people to trip over toys.
Yes,
You know, it's
the
like
chaos.
such tiny things become so precious. You want them, but you don't have them. I don't know whether it's possible to explain the pain and the sense of loss for something you didn't even have.
Yeah.
But it's like you had so much hope and expectation.
Yeah.
It's like we have fulfilled, you know, this stage. We got married. We are in the ministry. We wanted to serve God together. Now, it's like the next chapter of the book. Somebody tore the pages out. And it's like, so how do we continue with this story?
Yes, you're grieving a dream.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know how to move on.
Yeah.
Because this part was never supposed to be like that.
Yes, yes.
It was never supposed to be this way.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know how to handle this because I'm a pastor's wife. We are praying for people. We are counseling people. And I don't know how to handle my pain, how to handle my disappointment and struggle. And I wish I had opened up more.
Yeah.
I wish I had sought counsel. And that is one thing I look back and regret because I didn't.
Okay.
I actually kept everything inside.
Yeah.
And really got into a depression. But I don't think it was possible for people to tell because on the outside, I kept on doing what I had always done. I was still serving, still doing stuff.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it. But it was getting increasingly difficult to do.
So it's possible to look like you're functioning and thriving, but you're actually very depressed.
Yes.
Because we imagine that as someone who's going through a depression looks a certain way. And it does happen that you can be going through a depression and physically we can tell you're depressed.
Yes.
But then that you can also look like you're okay, showing up in the spaces that you should be showing up in, but you're not okay.
Yes.
I'm curious to know, were there, you being at the front line as a pastor's wife, were there ever people who asked you directly if there's a problem? Or even from family? Are there people who, you know,
Yes.
would ask that?
Yes, they did. And there are different categories.
Yes.
My sisters, I'm very close to them,
Uh-huh.
knew I had a problem, and so did my mom.
Right.
And they encouraged me, they prayed me. And one of my sisters also did have a problem
Okay.
conceiving.
Yeah.
So we'd encourage each other. Then I had very close friends who also knew,
Yeah.
and they were very encouraging. But at the point that they started having their own children,
Yes.
including my sister who'd been barren,
Yes.
then it was hard because I felt they couldn't relate.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there were people in church who did ask directly. And it was a hard question to answer, because I'm in faith.
Yes.
But at the same time, I don't want to acknowledge I'm barren. And so there were those who dug deeper. And then there were those ones who were kind and prayed.
Yes.
There were others who were not.
Okay.
They were not nice. They were not kind.
Yeah.
And it was hard. It was difficult. And in retrospect, I always say one thing it taught me is that it's important to choose your focus. Because at some point, to be really honest, I focused on the negative.
Okay.
And that hurt me more.
Which is, I cannot be a mother.
I cannot be a mother. What are they saying? Maybe Nelson should not have married me. He should have married somebody else.
Yeah.
And this is what people are saying about me. And it's like you look at people and you see them collectively as looking down on you or pitying you.
Yeah.
Or feeling like if people ask for prayer, do they even want me to pray for them? Or will they feel like I'm passing on? It's like if God hasn't answered your prayer, don't pray for me. So there was all that mental battle that I was going through. And I did come out of it eventually by choosing to focus differently. And by God's grace and mercy.
Yes.
By God's grace and mercy. It really wasn't me. And being able to change, because I got tired of being unhappy. I got tired of the constant struggle. And I just went to God and said, I'm tired. I want to get out of this. Help me.
Yeah.
Help me get out of this. Unfortunately, I also shut down from Nelson.
Okay.
I wouldn't tell him everything that I was going through.
Did you feel like you wouldn't understand, or were you feeling like you're overburdening him?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
Where I felt like he is, he has a very childlike faith. Where it's like, I can't understand why you can't believe, almost kind of thing. Yeah. So I'm like, how do I explain that I can't? That I'm really struggling, that I want to have faith, but I can't.
Yes.
And then just feeling like I don't want to drain him from focusing on ministry. So there are parts of myself that I closed off. Again, it wasn't right.
Yeah.
But he could sense that.
Okay.
He could sense that. And I know now we've talked about, he said he felt like I was shutting him out.
Yeah.
And he said he too was having his struggles. And he wanted us to talk. And I remember one time I went to a different room to cry. Yeah. That's how much I was,
Yeah.
And he came into the room and he asked me why are you crying? And I told him. And he said some years back when he was going for an intercessors conference in Germany, he said the Lord spoke to him and told him that we would wait a while before we had any children.
Really?
Yes. So he told me, I've always known it's going to take us a while. But we will have children, Jane. It's like I want to get past this, into letting it all go.
Yeah.
But he seemed like he'd let it all go and he was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we did talk.
Yes.
It's not like we weren't talking at all, but it's like the depth of my emotions when it was too deep.
Yeah.
I'd hold that to myself.
Yes.
And it grew us as a couple because it's just the two of us in the house.
Yeah.
You have to talk about what's hurting you deeply.
Yeah.
And yes.
Yeah.
So we did talk about it, and I did stop all the treatment. Again, like I said, I was keeping it all in, but he's the one who was seeing everything.
What it was doing to you.
What it was doing to me. So by the time he says, just stop all treatment. Just stop all treatment. I want you back.
Yeah.
And for a season, I think about 2 years or so, I was not on any treatment.
Okay.
Yeah, I was not on any treatment.
You know, infertility can actually just completely rob us of who we are.
Yes, it can.
You know, because of that, being so consumed by that struggle.
Yes,
You know, as
that's
you're
a
saying.
good word, consumed.
Yeah.
Yes, it's being so consumed by the struggle that you forget there is so much else in life.
Yeah.
You know, I remember being asked this question, what do you regret about that season?
Yeah.
And I say, I regret that I did not make use of my time better. I wish I'd done more things.
Yeah.
I wish I'd traveled with my husband more.
Yes.
Maybe learned more things and skill sets. But I was very consumed.
Yes.
I was very consumed.
Yes. You know, one of the things that I feel for me started leading me to a turning point, you know, within myself, because I resonate with you just saying how you changed and you are at this place, was a lady who I used to follow. She's in the US and she'd gone through a similar journey to mine. And she said, one time she said that motherhood is a great calling, but it's not the only calling.
I
just
love that.
Set me free. I was like, what?
I love
You
that.
know, I was like,
yes.
Of course, who said it's the only calling?
It isn't.
It isn't.
It isn't.
Yeah.
And that's why it's because we have these timelines that so limit God and us that everything has to happen this way.
Yes.
And I believe that also was a turning point for me. You know, when I said, you know what, I surrender this.
Yeah.
I cannot live like this.
Yes.
This is not me.
Yes.
I want to enjoy life. I want to enjoy my marriage. I want to enjoy my husband.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember after that, you know, going on a fast, and I said, God, I want to close this chapter.
Wow.
I want to stop praying about having children. I just want to stop.
Yes.
And I did go on a fast and 21 days and just said, okay, Lord, tell me.
Yeah.
What do you want? You know, how do you want me to live? What should my expectations be?
Yes.
And it was like it was silent. But I was like, okay.
Yeah.
You know, and then about 2 weeks later or 3, I remember I was worshiping in my room.
Yeah.
You know, for sure I'd already turned around. And it's like God took me through this series, going through the book of John, his affirmation, his love for me, what he thinks about me. I know that really affected me and helped me see God loves me.
Yeah.
He's not just being silent. I am not rejected. I am loved.
Yes.
So it's like, okay, God, you love me. I have embraced that truth. So what next?
Yes.
And in that time of worship, the Lord clearly spoke to me and he said, you know, what do you want?
Yeah.
And I said, a baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
He said, you have it. I was like that, you know?
Just like that?
Like that, you know. And this time I'm in my mid-30s and I laughed.
Yeah.
I laughed. I'm thinking, am I hearing my own things? You know, is this God? I had so many pregnancy test kits in my house. I don't know whether you went through that.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You know?
Different brands.
Yes. So I thought to myself, do I even want to try? So I didn't.
Yeah.
But after a while, maybe a month or so, I did actually test.
Yes.
You know that plus?
Yes.
I know for some it was a plus, others it was 2 lines.
2 lines, yes.
I was like, no. Me, I think this thing is defective.
It's faulty.
It's like, how? After so many years, so many years of praying and ask, how?
Yeah.
So I told my husband, and we had changed my doctor at the end of my fast.
Okay.
Not because there was anything wrong with the other doctors.
Yeah.
I think because we had stopped seeing the other doctors, so I needed a new one. And I told my husband, hey, the pregnancy test came back positive. He was like, are you sure? I said, yes. Wow. He said, let's call the doctor. So I called the doctor and she said, come to Nairobi Hospital.
Yes.
And let's do a test.
Okay.
Of course, the blood.
Yes.
You know, they drew some blood. They did the test. Positive.
Positive. Hi.
The shock.
Yeah.
Then I was sent for the ultrasound.
Yes. Viable
there's
pregnancy.
A fetus in there, viable pregnancy. And I was like, we are not telling anybody. We are not telling anybody. It's like, I'm like, I don't know. I'm excited. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And I told my husband, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to, just in case. It's like we have believed for so long.
Yes.
You know, now suddenly you're pregnant and you don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And But we did tell my immediate family and our pastors.
Okay. Yeah.
And at 3 months, we did share with everybody.
Okay.
3 months pregnancy.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so funny how you wait for such a long time. You know what a negative looks like.
Yes.
The day you get a positive, you're like, no, these things are faulty.
Yes. Yes.
The day it turns around, we're still like,
Yes.
no. We've had so many negatives. This can't be right.
Yes.
And I think so many women can resonate with that,
Yeah.
just I remember going like, no, I'm going to try another one.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah. I was not going to believe that fast. I was like, no, something is wrong with this.
Yes.
So I'm going to try a different brand. So I think it was like 3 tests later. And then the doctor, I'm like, no, the doctor has to verify that, So I get it. So, oh my goodness. So by the time this miracle is happening, how many years have lapsed since your marriage? Is that almost a decade or close to?
We adopted at around 7.5 years of waiting. So by the time I get pregnant, it was 9 years.
9 years.
9 years.
Wow.
And I think part of the peace and the rest that had happened was this wonderful baby that God had put in my arms, our firstborn.
Yes.
And so by the time I'm saying, okay, God, tell me, there was a degree of contentment, and I was like, I just want to know, I want to close this chapter, forget tests, forget medication, forget trying, forget expecting to ever get pregnant. So it was about 9 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yes.
So, I mean, in the span of like, how many years you now have 2 babies?
Yes.
So are they close in age?
They are close in age, exactly 2 years.
2 years?
Yes, 2 years. And I remember when our second born was about 10 months old, a brother came and told my husband, that I had a dream that your wife was expecting. I laughed. And I said,
can you see my 2?
It's like, I've waited for so long.
Oh, wow.
So what do you mean you had a dream that I was expecting? And I did. So I met the brother the next day in the office.
Okay.
And I went and I told him, by the way, you told my husband that you had a dream I was pregnant.
Yeah.
And he was a bit shy.
Okay.
So he looked down. He said, actually, in the dream, you were standing right there and you were laughing.
Whoa.
Hey, I felt like Sarah.
Yeah.
And that shook me.
Yes.
So I went and did a pregnancy test.
Yes.
And I was pregnant.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes. So between the second and third born are just about 16 months apart.
Wow.
And so the first one, our second born, I did use family. I did use fertility treatment.
Okay.
But after I conceived, there was no need.
Yeah.
So then I conceived this one without anything. So after that, the doctor said, now your uterus is very weak. Yeah, I almost lost. Yes, I almost lost my first pregnancy because of I had complications.
Okay.
And so by the time I got by the time I got my son, I had issues.
Okay.
So the doctor was very worried that I would lose him. And he came in a little early.
Okay.
And he was at 4.2 kilos, a very big baby.
4.2?
4.2.
And he was early?
And he was early.
Wow, Jane.
So I was like, now I'm content. I have 2 lovely girls. And a boy, it's like my cup runneth over.
Yes.
And then 2 years down the line, I'm almost 40.
Yes.
And the Lord starts speaking to me again that you're going to have another baby. I was like, no. I'm not sure about this story. And I prayed about it, because it was very clear. There's a way how God is speaking to you. And I was quick to remember, I'm telling God, I'm almost 40.
Yes.
Are you sure? And by this time, the doctor had actually put me on very strong medication to stop the pregnancy because she said I could not afford to get pregnant again.
Another pregnancy, yeah.
Yes. She said, your uterus is very weak. And I was pregnant.
Oh, my goodness.
I was pregnant. And
in spite of the medication?
In spite of the medication.
That baby had to come.
Yes. So 1, there was medical intervention. Then 2, none. And then even with intervention, I still conceived.
Wow. And
the pregnancy was challenging.
Okay.
I had preeclampsia.
Oh, my.
And at 6 months, a little, when my son was 35 weeks, they had to do a CS.
Yes, an emergency CS.
An emergency CS because I was I was rupturing.
Your
Yeah.
uterus was rupturing.
Yes, and they even told me, because I was like, please don't take my baby out now. I'll go back home. I'll stay in bed. And they said it's too late.
Yeah.
If you go back home, we could lose both you and your
it's very
child.
risky.
Very risky. And they said at this point, we're not even trying to save the baby.
Yeah,
We're trying to save you. And that was so heartbreaking. And yes, he came. He was premature.
Yes.
And but he's healthy.
How early did he come?
35 weeks.
35 weeks, yeah.
35 weeks.
Yeah.
He was a big baby. He was 3 kilos.
Wow.
Even at 35 weeks. And he's actually ended up being the tallest in the family. He's about 6'4".
Wow.
But he did have medical challenges at the beginning.
Yes.
But we kept on believing God.
Yes.
That he would touch him, he would heal him. At one time his hemoglobin was very low. He was he had rickets.
Yeah.
He had a vitamin D deficient. I mean, he had so many challenges. He wasn't eating well. But God healed him.
Wow, amen.
Healed him really well.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
I mean, allow me to take you back a little bit. Preeclampsia, for people who don't know what that is, could you tell us what preeclampsia is?
Preeclampsia, your blood pressure shoots up.
Yeah.
And it's dangerous for your fetus and for yourself.
Yeah.
Because if it's not treated well, your blood pressure can go out of control and you lose your life. So it has to be monitored very, very closely. Right. So my blood pressure was up with all the pregnancies.
Yes.
I had preeclampsia. My feet were swelling. I had very high water retention.
Yes.
And I was put on medication.
Okay.
And I didn't respond too well to it. So it was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It wasn't an easy part. And again, believing God. Sometimes it's like, God, I believed you for a miracle baby. Yes. Surely I'm done.
Surely.
And then it feels like there's another challenge and another one and another one and another one. Yeah. But I've discovered with all that, God is faithful. It wasn't easy. And I have learned challenges are not there to take away our faith. But really, when they do come, God says he's there with us.
Yeah.
He is there with us. I don't understand why he allows some things. I don't understand everything, but I do know that he's good.
Yeah.
I do know that he's faithful, and I have learned to simply trust, because none of the pregnancies were easy.
Yeah.
None of them were easy.
The assurance that God is with us even in the challenges.
Yes.
Your son, you mentioned that he came at 35 weeks, and I want you to just let's dwell here for a minute, because of a lot of moms who get babies before time, preemies, some much younger. I've heard of mothers having babies at 20-something weeks, like really, really early. But whether it's 25 or 35, just when you're told that your baby is coming early, there's an anxiety.
Oh, yeah.
That comes with that. And there's I don't know. I think having been a preemie mom, there was a level of how could my body not carry a child full term, Yes. How did you deal with those feelings? And I don't know if your baby was in an incubator or not. You could tell us about that. But if your baby was in an incubator, how did seeing your baby for the first time look like for you? Because we have a very romanticized version of what first moments with babies look like. My baby will come out crying, and then I'll hold the baby, and then I'll breastfeed, but it doesn't always play out like that. So walk us through that as a preemie mom.
Our second born was in an incubator. That was very difficult, because we'd waited so long for me to get pregnant.
Yeah.
So I go to the hospital. They induced the baby because we were over 40 weeks. And then I had complications. Okay. And finally, they rushed me to theater, and my baby was born. So I didn't get to see my baby. I didn't get to see, we had done all the exercises, what you're going to do. So you were prepared to physically receive your baby.
Yes.
But then your baby comes when you're asleep. You're not conscious, obviously. Yeah. And then when I woke up, I was told that my baby was in an incubator. Congratulations, you have a baby girl, but oops, sorry, you can't touch your baby. And that was hard, Kambua, because going to see my baby in an incubator with all these wires, to this day, I still see her. It's actually traumatic to some degree. To this day, I still see that picture, because you're thinking, after waiting for so long, will my baby live?
Yeah.
Because you're just seeing wires and wires and wires, and then wondering, are they warm? Can I touch them?
Yeah.
I want to touch them. I want to make contact, and I can't.
Yeah.
And it was just 2 days
Yeah.
of waiting, but there were 2 very long days. And finally, when she was put in my arms,
Yes.
wow.
Yeah.
And then our third born also came a little early at 37 weeks. But like I said, he was 4.2 kilos.
Yeah.
4.1,
Big
4.2. He was a big baby. He came bouncing, no issues. In fact, they used to think I'm overfeeding him. I'd say, I'm actually giving him nothing but breast milk. He didn't have very many complications. But our last born did.
Yes. Okay.
He did. He was premature. He had complications. We had to keep him tightly wrapped.
Okay.
Fortunately, he didn't go into the incubator. And that was something I asked the Lord very specifically.
Yes.
When I was told
Yes.
that they had to take the baby out.
Okay.
How did I feel? Guilty. Guilty when the doctor told me that you can't go back home, because I had a severe pain and that's why I was in hospital.
Yes.
I didn't even have a bag that I had packed.
Yeah.
And I felt like I had let my baby down, because I had been told to be on bed rest, but I was partially on bed rest.
Yes.
It's like I'd stay in bed, then, you get up.
Yes.
So I felt I was to blame for this place, and I had no guarantee that my baby will live.
Yeah.
And the doctor and even the pediatrician, they were both very open. We can't have no guarantees that this child will live.
That's tough.
It was hard. It was hard having to be wheeled into the maternity ward.
Yes.
And with in slippers. So I had to tell my husband what to pack. I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready. And I kept on asking the doctor, please let me just go home. Pack a bag.
Yeah.
Please do something for me to wait at least another week.
Yeah.
And she said, you can't.
Yes.
And being in the maternity ward was hard because you're hearing all the commotion that happens in there.
Yeah.
And the lady next to me lost her baby.
Oh.
Also a preemie. The lady opposite also lost her baby, also a preemie. So you're waiting. But I was waiting, praying.
Yeah.
And anxious.
Yeah.
And crying and reading my Bible.
Yeah.
And I remember reading the portion of scripture was the woman with the issue of blood, and how the Lord asked her, what can I do for you? And the Lord asked me, what do you want me to do for you? And I said, God, I want my child to live. I don't want them in an incubator because of a previous experience.
Yes.
And I want to leave this hospital quickly.
Okay. Yeah.
And God answered.
Wow.
I actually left after 3 days instead of the normal 5.
Yeah.
He didn't go into the incubator. We just had to keep him really wrapped.
Bundled up. Yeah.
Bundled up.
Yeah.
Really well.
Yeah.
And yes.
Wow. Yeah. So you walked through almost 8 years of just you and Nelson.
Yes.
And then you suddenly have 4 babies.
Yes. Under the age of 6. Or is it 7? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. How did you do that?
Wow. With a lot of help from my husband.
Yes.
In fact, we actually worked on a system.
Yes.
With our firstborn, where he would work some hours in the night.
Okay.
Because she was very colicky.
Yes.
So by the time baby number 2 came, we had a system in place, and I was a stay-at-home mom. Okay. So what we would do, it's like he would come home and like I said, he loves children.
Yes.
And he would take over some of the responsibilities, like for washing them and cleaning them.
Yeah.
So he'd be washing, diapering and doing all that.
Yeah.
And he loved it.
Yes.
And that would give me time to cook or just relax a little bit.
Okay.
And then he's off on Mondays. So he would take them to Yaya. At that time, it was very new.
Yes.
And do things with them on Mondays and give me time to rest because I also homeschooled them.
Okay. Ooh. Look at you.
So it was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot on my plate, and it wasn't easy, And I'd keep saying, God, help me manage my blessings.
Yeah.
Help me manage my blessings.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of help.
Yeah,
and my sisters as well,
yes.
and my sister-in-law.
Yes.
My husband only has one sister, so Emma was there a lot at the beginning because then she also got her family,
yes.
And so she wasn't there as much.
Uh-huh.
And friends from church.
Yes.
Friends from church
helped. So you had a strong community.
I had a strong community.
Yeah.
That is something I can't take for granted. I really had a strong, supportive community.
So important.
Yes.
I like how you've said help me manage my blessings. Because sometimes I feel like, when you've had, the truth is that motherhood is not easy,
No.
for anybody.
It's not.
But having been, having gone through the journey you went through before you even had Amy, you almost feel guilty for saying I'm tired.
Yes.
Or I'm overwhelmed.
Yes.
You're like, am I even allowed to say that?
Yes.
Considering how long I had to
and
wait.
feeling guilty.
Yeah.
And feeling guilty when you're not managing so well.
Yeah.
Feeling guilty when your children are not perfect. Feeling guilty. It's like, am I doing this right? Am I doing this well? And you're trying.
Yeah.
And raising the children in church where they're at the forefront, and you also are there.
Yes.
And learning to balance,
Yeah.
your different roles, it was not easy.
Yeah.
It was not easy. And I know I made many mistakes, and we talk with now that they are young adults, all of them are adults now.
Yes.
We talk about it. We talk about, there was a season I was a very bad-tempered mother. Oh, yes. You're tired, you're worn out.
Yeah.
And as much as you know that your shout doesn't really,
it
doesn't work.
effective.
It is not very effective. But we would talk. And one thing we were taught by our pastors is learn to apologize to your children.
Yes.
That, I'm telling you, is so important. So we both learned early on to say, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't do that right.
Yeah.
And to develop a close relationship. Initially, just you're their parent, not their friend.
Right.
Necessarily.
Yes.
That's who you are first.
Right.
And motherhood is not easy. Parenting is not easy.
Yeah.
But it is a gift.
Yeah, it's a gift.
It's a gift. And to know that God is there with you.
Yes.
You don't know how many times I prayed and still pray and say, God, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. But these are children you've given me.
Yeah.
And I'm a steward
Yes.
of your children.
Right.
Because I remember the first and foremost belong to God. I don't own them.
Yes.
I want to own them.
Yeah. Yeah, we feel like...
There are many times you want to own them in the sense that you want to dictate and
control
their story, their narrative, and their future. But I know that they are a gift from God. Right. So it's like, God, help me manage, help me steward your gifts well.
Yeah.
And when I miss it, to be able to come to God and say, I've missed it, but I don't want to miss.
Yeah.
I don't want to miss this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think after going through that period of barrenness where there was this season of waiting, I am very intentional about not getting back there. I want to enjoy today.
Yeah.
I want to love today, even though it's messy.
Yes.
Even though it's not exactly how I want it to be like, I don't want to miss this.
You want to be present.
I want to be present.
Yes.
Yes. And I even tell them that. Even when we fight, I say, I don't want you to be distant from me.
Yeah.
We won't have this year again.
Yes.
We won't have this time again. I won't always be here.
Yeah.
But while I'm here,
I
want to be present.
Yes.
So tell me even when you feel I am not.
Yeah.
Yes.
They say that no pain is wasted, and we actually have a physical manifestation of that here. Let me hold this, but let me first ask you before we talk about this beautiful book. We were chatting earlier, and I was saying to you that I wish that even spaces like the church where people go through premarital counseling, which is fantastic. I fully advocate for it.
Yeah.
I wish there were more conversations on, yes, when you get married, be fruitful, multiply, etc.
Yes.
But can there also be conversations that it might not happen in the time that you want it to?
Yes.
Or it might never happen, in that way either. What's your take on that? Do you feel like there's room in the church?
There is.
Yeah.
And I know one of the things that has changed a little bit in our premarital counseling is that when we talk to couples, we tell them the marriage is not a contract. It's a covenant.
Yes.
Because when you start from that point, when things don't work out as you had hoped, as you had planned, then you're able to come back to this place where when you got married and made a covenant with each other, that covenant holds. A contract, it's like if this or if that, there are all these clauses.
Yes.
So you put those aside and you come here and we talk to them about what that looks like.
Okay, yeah.
What does a covenant look like?
Yes.
And we spend a lot of time there. And then we build on that.
Yeah.
Because life, you will lose your job.
Yeah.
It's not just about barrenness. You will get maybe a terminal disease.
Yeah.
What happens?
Yes.
It's important to remember why we got married. Why are we together? We are in a covenant.
Yeah.
We are in this before God. And God will take us through so that you learn. And also telling them, don't wait until things are bad in your marriage. Seek counsel. Even to help clarify things. You know, don't always feel like until the time we are almost killing each other, you know, because we have a culture of going for counseling.
When it's too late?
Yes. Don't wait until it's too late. Come when you can't settle things between the two of you, when we just want to talk through some things. You know, and there's this one couple I remember us walking with, and we'd have so much time laughing together. Because really that's why they called us to come into their relationship. They weren't having big problems or issues, but they just needed to work through, you know. And the lady did end up years later getting a terminal disease, you know, which was really sad and a difficult time. But it's good to lay a strong foundation. What does a covenant look like? And then talk about all these other things. You're not prophesying or saying they'll happen.
Right, yeah.
But things might not happen in the event.
That they do,
In the event that they do. But when you reach out and you touch other people's lives, you know, and you give yourself away, and you start having goals, and you start having, you know, even together, it does take the focus off of you. Because life is not always about me.
It is not, doesn't
you know, and when
revolve
somebody
around
is
us.
hurting, you know, it sounds very hard to say it's not always about you, but I'm telling you, it's the most beautiful thing you can do for yourself and others when you say, God, what have you put in my hands? What can I do? How can I make a difference? Who can I touch? You know, and becoming outward. I know that was very helpful for me. I had been serving all along. I never really stopped. But there was a time I would serve, but I am feeling like, what are people thinking about? You know, what about this body? What about this way? But when I said, you know what? It's okay. I can't control this situation. Yes, I felt guilty about being barren, even though it wasn't my fault. But where it's like, you know what? If you want me to pray for you, I'll pray for you. If you don't think I'm qualified to pray for you,
it's okay.
It's okay. You know, getting there. Getting to that place of like, God, what can I do? What can I do? And I do tell my single friends, especially, you know, sometimes you think about people who don't have children as married and waiting. There are also singles, older singles who
married,
they're not married. They would like to have children. And I say, leave. Leave. You have travel. If that's your thing, you know, do something, get together, leave. And ask the Lord, what can I do? God made you on purpose. God made you for a purpose. When you connect with your purpose, life is amazing. It really is. Connect with that purpose. Connect with what God wants. And go off on this adventure called life. You know, because God has amazing things. When I look at my life and how God has worked it out, it has not followed a set plan. But He's given me a beautiful life. You know, and even when things are hard, I have learned to look to God and say, God, what is it that you have for me in this season? What do you want me to do? And I love life. I'm excited about life, you know. And I say, I don't want to go back into that depression. I want to embrace everything you have. And a lot of the struggle that I had has a lot to do with spiritual warfare as well. That's another angle. The Bible says the devil comes to steal, to kill, to destroy. He really is very intentional about that. The thoughts that we think, the things the narrative that we tell ourselves, that we listen to. It's important to change the narrative. It's important to change what you believe about yourself, what you believe about life and your future. If it's not going according to the plan, according to the cultural plan, according to the social plan, expectations, it doesn't mean that your life is over or like there's nothing to live.
There's so much more.
There's so much more. And if there's somebody I can talk to today, say, please leave. This world needs you. You are not... you're not half a person. You have value. I need you. We need you. You know, even if you're going through pain, your wounds can help heal somebody else.
Absolutely.
Just get up. Don't try to be this perfect person. God is the one, he makes all things beautiful.
Yeah.
We can't beautify ourselves. Yes, we come with our messes, with our issues, with our challenges.
Yes.
But when we give them to God,
He makes it
this
beautiful.
test becomes a testimony.
Yes.
And it's okay.
Yes.
It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to say, I'm not doing so well.
Yes.
So that God can come and make you well.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a process. It's okay. Yeah.
That is so powerful, everything you've said, and I love just that you've re-emphasized live.
Yes.
There's so much more,
Yes.
and there's room for you at the table, you said that you're not half a person. Correct. You're not, you have so much to offer.
Yes. And don't apologize for what you don't have.
Yes.
Or what you're not.
Absolutely.
If you're barren, don't apologize for that.
Yes. It's not something you can control,
No. And that is something I had to bring down. It says casting down imagination.
Yes.
And I had to constantly tell myself, Jane, you're not to blame.
Yeah, so don't carry that shame.
Yes, don't carry that shame because it is shameful. And I'm saying, Jane, you're not to blame.
Yeah.
You're not to blame. I'm not going to carry this shame.
Yes. Oh my goodness. God, why can't I have a baby? I need to show you this book. It is so beautiful. And I was telling Jane, because I read a lot of books, sometimes I'll go to a bookstore and I will pick a book just because of how it looks. And this is a book I would pick because it's so beautifully done. I don't know, Nick, can you see that properly? Is it good? All right. So this is not your first book. This is actually Jane's first book. It's Jane with a capital J.
Yes.
That's her first book. Okay?
And the J in the capital is actually Jesus.
Oh, wow,
Yes.
Jane.
Yeah.
This first book, when was this published?
2019.
2019.
Yes.
It's more of your
Stories.
Your stories.
Yes. This actually came out of the stories I tell my children.
Yes.
About growing up in Nakuru, growing up in a farm.
Ah.
The mistakes I made.
Yes.
Because I believe it's important. I was not always number one. I did foolish things. And I felt it's important to tell them.
Yeah.
So they're like, Mom, why don't you put this in a book? And the lessons I learned.
Yes.
So it's not just about that part. It's the
Yes.
lessons I learned,
Yes.
even in campus, being caught up in those days. It's almost like every year the campus would close. And with
the strikes.
riot riot police would come, disperse the students.
Yeah.
Some of the protection that the protection that I got from the Lord.
Yes.
In some of those situations, the miracles of coming out of that, there's tear gas and there's all this, and God protects you.
Yes.
Or bushfires happening. I come from Nakuru, from a farm.
Yes.
And praying God stop this fire, and God would stop it. Yeah. So those
are all here.
Yeah,
and it's almost like a devotional. I see some parts that have
it is a devotional
prayer. Yeah.
Yes,
so you can read and reflect and write. Yes. Yeah. But this is what I want us to focus on.
Yes.
How old is this baby?
This baby is 25.
Yes. Oh my goodness. God, why can't I have a baby? When did you get this book published? Last year? Released?
Yes, last year.
And this, I'm going to assume by the title, is just documenting your journey through infertility and what that struggle looked and felt like.
Yes, it is.
What do you hope for people who get this book? What do you hope that they take home with?
Encouragement. Encouragement. That they will know that God is good.
Yeah.
That He's faithful.
Yeah.
That there is hope. It doesn't matter how difficult the situation is. That God is a God of miracles. He still does miracles to this day.
Right.
That it's okay to cry.
Yeah.
Because then you will get to have your tears wiped by Him.
Yes.
And that life is beautiful. Life is beautiful.
Yes.
There are difficulties, there are challenges.
Yeah.
But it's like God is faithful. God is faithful. You don't have to remain where you are.
Yeah.
And for anybody who is depressed, you don't have to stay in that state.
Yes.
Wow.
And you can get help.
Yes, you can get help.
Yeah, you can get help.
And get help.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, get help.
Yeah.
Was this an easy book to write?
No. No. It was actually a very hard book to write.
Yeah.
Because the first time, my first draft, when the first editor saw it, they were very kind.
Okay.
They read it and they said, you need to go back and write this book again because we don't see the pain, the emotion. And that is a very hard thing to do because I knew exactly what he was saying. And so when I went to apply what he had said, I cried a lot. There were times I'd be writing the book and I'd remember the pain.
Yeah, you're reliving the moments.
Yes, I'm reliving those moments and I would stop.
Yeah.
Even for a month.
Yeah.
And the publisher would call and say, how far have we gone? And it's like, I'm still in chapter 3.
Yes. Like, okay.
So we did. We went, I wrote the book. My husband was involved.
Right.
Our children were involved.
Okay.
You know, in helping me retell some parts.
Yes.
You know, and so we did it together. So you will also, for the men, you will also hear my husband's voice in there.
Okay.
You know, his take.
Yeah, his perspective on different things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I'm so glad I wrote it. Because now when I read it, I'm like, Lord, you know that song, I know how the story ends.
Yeah.
I didn't know how this particular story would end. But to some degree, I do know how this story ends because God, like I'm saying, He is good.
Yeah, He is.
He is good. And He will bring us through.
Yeah.
He will bring us through.
Wow, amen.
Yes.
Where can we buy this book?
You can get it from Nuria.
Yes.
Hustle Sasa, Taji Publishers.
Yes.
Keswick Bookshop, Ufungamano, Catholic Bookshop. And there's one, I think I'm forgetting, it's in town, Scripture
Union. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Fantastic. And I'll put those
and Amazon for those ones who'd like to buy it online.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll put those down for anyone who wants to purchase this book. And even if you feel like I don't relate, this is not my journey, I know you know somebody who needs this book. Yeah. As a lifeline.
And also it's for anybody who's asked God why.
You're right.
Yes. It's not just about being barren.
Babies. Yes.
It's about the why.
Because I think we all experience waiting.
Yes.
In different forms.
Yes.
So you need this book. And when you buy it too. Buy for somebody else as well. Okay. Let this be the perfect gift. Whenever you think of a gift, you put this as part of that as well. Jane, as we just finish this off, I know we've spoken so much and there's still so much. I feel like, we should have said this, but it's fine. I know we'll have another opportunity to discuss even more. But before I let you go, I want you to just look into the camera and encourage somebody who is in a waiting season, actually, and feels that there's no end in sight, and they have just completely thrown in the towel. What would you say to them?
Don't give up. Your life has purpose. Your life has meaning. You're important. You may have made choices that have led to where you are right now, and you feel you deserve the pain and the suffering. But God is a God of second chances. The Bible says that if we confess our sins, He's faithful and just to forgive us and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. Please take that. Accept His grace. Accept His love. Accept His mercy. Accept His goodness. And ask Him, what is my purpose? What is my place? He'll give you. You know, the Bible tells us in Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you. Plans to prosper you, not plans to harm you. He doesn't want to harm you. Yes, we live in a world that can be painful, difficult, where people's poor choices affect us and will affect us. But you have God who loves you. And don't give up. Get help. If it's difficult for you to get out of the situation you're in, please get help. Get counsel. Go to the right people, and embrace life. Embrace the gift of life that God has given you. And I love you and I care. It doesn't matter how far you've gone. It doesn't matter how deep the depression. It doesn't matter how discouraged you may be feeling. I know that God is a God of miracles because He's done it for me. It doesn't matter what the doctor's report is. Maybe that's what the challenge is. God is able to turn that. And even in that situation, even in the fire, He's able to give you the grace to go through it. So don't give up. Please don't give up. Don't throw in the towel. He's faithful.
Yes.
God bless you.
Yes, indeed. He is faithful. Wow, Jane, such a pleasure. And thank you for honoring us by just being here, sitting, sharing your story so openly, because we draw healing from each other. You know,
Yes.
even I listening to you, there are parts of me that are healing, you know, and
Yes.
there's light coming in. And I know that that's happening for other people listening. They're like, okay, I caught something that is dispelling the darkness. So thank you for
Yes.
sharing your story. It takes a lot of courage to share our stories, to document, to sit and talk. It's not easy because,
No.
as you said, you're reliving things that were very traumatic.
Yes.
You know, but we overcame. We overcome.
Yes.
Yeah, by the word,
Yes.
by the blood of the Lamb, and the word of our
Yes.
testimony. So thank you for being bold and courageous in doing this. And I pray that, you know, God does whatever He will with these books.
Yes.
And especially this latest one, God, why can't I have a baby?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing, sparing your time to be with us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yes. Please give my love to Pastor Nelson
Yes,
and
I
to your
will.
children as well. Are you on social media?
Yes, I am.
Okay, well, how can we find you? What are your handles?
Instagram, Kajeni.
Kajeni. I love it.
That is because I'm the last girl in the family. That's my nickname.
Okay. We'll put her handle Kajeni.
Yes, that's Instagram and Facebook,
Yes.
Jane Gichohi. Yes.
Fantastic. So
Yeah.
you can follow her, you can message her, you know, whatever it is. If you're like, I didn't catch the bookshop that you meant, whatever you need,
Yes.
go ahead and message her, and I'm sure she'll be happy to
Yes, I
respond.
will.
Jane,
Yes.
thank you so much.
And thank you, Kambua.
Yes.
You're a beautiful lady.
Thank you. I appreciate
Yes,
that.
yeah.
All right. Guys, this has been Being Kambua. I know you're feeling what I'm feeling, just very refreshed and encouraged. And if this is, I pray that Being Kambua continues to be a lifeline for you, you know, for all those moments where you have felt, I appreciate all of you who come back and share testimonies, who say, Kambua, I got out of that dark place because I've been listening to the women. It's been predominantly women on this podcast. I've been listening to those stories and I have come out of a dark place. That if that's your testimony, then my work is done,
Yes.
you know? So I want to remind you that there is so much more to your life.
Yes.
I pray that God grants you the desires of your heart, but I want you to know that even as you wait,
Yes.
there's more to life.
Yes, there is.
There's so much more to life. So have a great day. Go and do something for yourself, okay? Because you probably have just been caught up in this rut of just consumed by this thing, you know, of I cannot be a mother, or I cannot have another child, or I cannot, or my child has passed on, or all these things, whatever it is, or I just got a terrible report. Go do something for yourself this week, whether it's going out for a meal or go spend some time with your friend, a girlfriend, and just talk and laugh, watch a movie, go for a walk, do something for yourself. And make sure you drop me a message, okay? And say, Kambua, I did this for myself and this is how I feel.
Awesome.
Have a great week. Yes. And we'll catch you again next time on Being Kambua. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This was the first night at home with our baby. I remember just feeling for a moment, this was about 2 in the morning. I remember thinking, God, did you bring me this far? Did you give me this blessing that I have waited for so long? And then, is it possible that my life ends here?